This is my first time wearing this new shirt. What do you guys think? Move this out of the way. It's cute, right? It's part of my Tokyo chic aesthetic these days. So lately, I've been saying this a lot. I came up with it. I guess I'm going through my Oprah phase, my Oprah era of having these little sayings. But this has been coming up a lot, that I've had situations where I'm like, this person, I don't vocalize it to the person, but I'm like, this person, whether it's somebody in my real life or somebody I see in media, on TV, like reality TV especially, this person has superficial values, so they're always gonna get superficial results. When you have superficial values, you get superficial results every time. So I've been noticing this in the trash TV that I watch, reality TV specifically, like the Real Housewife type shows and stuff like that. But I also see it in my real life, particularly with women of a certain age here in Miami Beach. And I do think places like Miami or Los Angeles, they attract a certain kind of person, and especially with women, right? There's a lot of these women who try to keep up with the trends, in terms of physical, sort of surface beauty, getting every little procedure done. And a lot of these women, I think some of these women are doing it for, self-confidence, which I can understand, like a breast augmentation thing, right? Like there's women who will do that because they've always been insecure about their breasts. They want to feel better about it. But obviously, let's cut to the chase. A lot of women and men get plastic surgery done to attract more suitors, right? And in Miami, you definitely have this culture too, not just of the augmentations and the rejuvenation and the youthful, procedures to try to maintain youth and all that stuff. But also there's such a big like sugar daddy culture here in Miami Beach. And you see it like when I go out with my friends. What's kind of weird about Miami is it's pretty common to go out to hotels because there's so many here, and oftentimes the hotels here are the nicer venues in terms of like a bar, right? A dive bar versus a hotel bar. A hotel bar is likely to be a lot nicer. The drinks are likely to be better and the ambiance. So oftentimes we will go to hotels, as weird as that might sound to people outside of Miami. Typically we'll hang out at a hotel lounge or bar. And so at these hotels, you see oftentimes these like young women, sometimes with the duck lips and looking kind of ridiculous, and they'll have an older guy on their arm, and you can tell this is transactional. I remember being in an elevator months ago, and this woman was talking to my friend. I think about her purse. She was like, to my friend, she was like, I like your purse or your bag or something. And my friend was like, oh yeah, I just bought it. And the woman was in disbelief. She was like, you pay for your own bags? Like you don't have a man pay? And it was just like such a ridiculous conversation to me that this woman was just used to men paying for her lifestyle. So this brings me back to the point of when you have superficial values, you get superficial results every time. So to give you more specific examples in my friend circle, I have some female friends in my circle who they're obsessed with dating, and they're going through that period, which I have compassion for, where it's like the biological clock is ticking in terms of reproduction and stuff like that. And so they are in desperation mode, thirst mode, and they will do stuff like lie on dating apps about their age, which is like, for me, with gay dating, I hate stuff like that. Like I pay a lot of attention to how men present themselves on dating apps. If I find out they lie about their age, if just the way they present themselves feels arrogant or condescending, you see this on apps like Grindr a lot. The guys will say everything they don't want to attract. Like, you must be under this age, you must be this race, you must be this, that. People like me, I could have been into you, and now that I know this, I'm disinterested. So I've told that to those female friends, like, do you realize you're gonna attract a certain kind of guy if you lie about your age. Like, you're gonna attract a guy who's not, you could be attracting a guy who otherwise wouldn't be into you because of your age. For whatever reason, it could be it's his choice. People are allowed to date who they want to date. So you're kind of manipulating a guy to be into you. And I feel like any true, like, substantive person is going to not want to date you once they find out that you lied about your age. So when you have those superficial values of, like, well, let me lie about my age, let me lie about my appearance, you know, through deception of either how I present myself on an app or just the augmentation of everything. And again, I get that some people, it's a self-confidence thing, a little nip tuck here and there, a little procedure here and there. But what's fascinating to me is when you focus on that, then you're going to attract a certain kind of audience, right? You're going to attract somebody who is easily enchanted by surface beauty. And what I think is also really interesting, by the way, about plastic surgery in particular, is that going back to the deception of the age thing, to me, plastic surgery is deception of your genealogy. Like, I have a friend who's Korean, and she was telling me that in Korea, plastic surgery and all these procedures and skin bleaching, like, this stuff is huge. Like, you think it's big in places like Miami and Beverly Hills. She was saying in Korea, it's completely common for women to get 1 million procedures. And so if that affects your dating possibilities and the kind of guys you attract, what I think is so interesting is that's not really changing your DNA though. So if all of this, everything with mating rituals and dating, courtship, all of this subconsciously, right, boils down to reproduction, right? Like, you're attracted to who you're attracted to because your DNA is saying, I belong with this person, this would make a great partner for children, right? A lot of the things that we're naturally attracted to, symmetry in the face, healthy complexion, healthy hair, subconsciously it's our libido saying this would make a great reproductive partner in terms of, like, the offspring, right? That's there's a biological basis for that. But what's interesting is if you're altering your appearance and making yourself look different than your nature intended, so skin bleaching, breast augmentation, a nose job, fake teeth, fake hair, all this stuff, you're actually manipulating somebody into being attracted to you who otherwise might not be attracted to your features. And then once you have kids, if you have kids, right, if you get married, your kids are going to come out looking different than what was intended. And I just think it's fascinating that, again, it's like, who are you attracting? If you attract a guy who now is into you who otherwise wouldn't have been into you, or as a man, if you're now attracting a woman or a man if you're gay, based on these changes, to me it seems like there isn't longevity to that because it's a surface attraction. So then when you look at these housewives, you know, like the Real Housewives, these reality shows of women who then snag a man based on their physicality, and then they're shocked that the guy eventually gets sick of her. And a great example of this is Lisa Hodgstein on the Real Housewives of Miami. This has been like a media storm, a media frenzy the past year, I guess, or so. This is one of the Real Housewives of Miami. She got so much work done to the point where at a certain point, she even admits that she looked like not recognizable anymore. She got so many fillers and Botox. And my whole thing is, this is so fascinating because then eventually her husband dumped her. He had like a side chick on the side. And she was up here like shocked that he left her. And I'm like, what did you expect? Like, you're married to a plastic surgeon. Part of your like brand to him and to the public was literally, when she was on the show, her first sort of tagline was, I'm my husband's best creation, because he's a plastic surgeon. And I'm like, when you enter with that kind of mindset and those kinds of superficial values, you're going to be treated as a superficial commodity. And what's so fascinating, by the way, about Lisa to me is that she got so much work done, I think, to keep up as a woman married to a plastic surgeon. And the irony is, a guy like that, I mean, he's also not a great person, by the way, so I'm not defending him by any means. he had a side chick. He has like been horrible to her in media, like in the press since, and on social media since all this like happened, and it was showcased on the reality show, The Real Housewives of Miami. But what's fascinating to me is a plastic surgeon, he's probably used to these women all day, every day, right? Who have all this work done. The way you maintain a man like that, his attention, isn't through getting more procedures done. It's by offering him what none of these other women can offer, which is probably like going toe to toe with him in terms of stimulation, intellectual stimulation, and having a career that parallels his. Now, of course, he has superficial values too, and that's why they clicked in the first place. But a man like that, I'm willing to bet, would actually be more enchanted by a woman who's beautiful, but also has something more to offer, like substantially. And so she learned the hard way that these procedures, keeping up with all the latest beauty trends in Miami and Botox and fillers and fake boobs and all this stuff, like it wasn't enough. But when you have superficial values, you're not thinking about that, I guess. So between seeing this on TV and then also seeing it around me in Miami, I'm like, wow, it's so interesting how people can be so caught up in having the wrong value systems for what they're saying they really want. And it's like, do you really want that? Because if you really wanted that, right? So for example, my friend who I mentioned who lies about her age on dating apps, you're saying you want a partner and you want a serious commitment. If you really wanted that though, would you lead in with deceit and manipulation? Like, cause that would tell, if I was insecure about my age, like let's say I get to 40, 45, I'm not saying one should be insecure at that age, but she's in that age range. If I was insecure about that, the last thing I would want to do is attract a guy who's going to make me even more insecure about that, right? Meaning if a guy makes it clear, like I'm not willing to date somebody else over 40, let's say, I immediately would be turned off because I'm like, you're telling me you don't want me. So why would you want to be wanted by somebody who doesn't want you or wouldn't want you in the long run if you were to lie about your age? So on the one hand, I'm like, you're doing it wrong. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, maybe it's not just about having superficial values, but it's like they want superficial things. Like they think they want a partnership, but really what they want is the validation of I'm still youthful enough for a relationship, or I'm still beautiful enough for a relationship, or whatever. I think this stuff is really interesting. As always, curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments.